In a major shakeup of the nation's security leadership, President Bola Tinubu has accepted the resignation of Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun, citing pressing family reasons. In his place, Tunji Disu, former head of Intelligence Response Team, has been appointed acting Inspector General of Police. He becomes the 23rd Inspector General of Police following Kayode Egbetokun's resignation from the force.
Now, this is not just a personnel change, but a move that comes at a time when insecurity remains a pressing national concern. We shall be analyzing what this leadership change means for Nigeria's security architecture, policing reforms, and the political undertones of this decision. We'll be joined by experts to break it all down. Now, joining us for this discussion are former Commissioner of Police in the FCT, Lawrence Alabi, who will be joining us much later. But let's start the conversation with legal practitioner Tohwo Oseruvwoja. Good morning, Leonard colleague. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Judith.
All right, let's get your thoughts on the removal of the former IG Egbetokun. Do you believe that it is one done truly on the basis of personal family reasons as genuine resignation, or do you think that is a quiet removal that, you know, has some undertones, especially because there have been concerns and criticisms raised over his tenure allegation by President Tinubu? You saw how Chore has been campaigning and advocating for his resignation for the longest time. Let's get your thoughts.
Okay, let me start it from the last statement you made regarding controversies surrounding his tenure. If you look at it, I've stated it time without number in this platform and outside this platform, and when educating people when it comes to the statutory provision of the Inspector General of Police, that it is stated clearly. If you look at Section 7, Subsection 6 of the Nigerian Police Act 2022, the tenure of an Inspector General of Police when you assume that office is 4 years. So there is no controversy, and that is an express and explicit provision of the law, which cannot be override by a general provision of that particular act. So that is for that. Then the other issue, if it is pressing or individual or whatever reasons he has given, if you look at Section 7, if you look at subsection 5 of the Nigerian Police Act, you could see that it is stated clearly. There are three conditions or three provisions in which an Inspector General of Police can be removed. One, by the President on the advice of the Police Council. Then two, when the Inspector General of Police is of the provision of or is caught up with what we call gross misconduct. That is a ground for its removal. That is a ground for its removal. Then gross violation of the Constitution is another ground under that second aspect. Then his inability to perform his duty as an Inspector General of Police under the second, is still under the second ground I was talking about. Then the last one is the elapse of his tenure of 4 years, which is not renewable. So let's come by in the public domain, he resigned. Yes. Can it be on the ground of incapacity to discharge his responsibility on the ground of his family or family ties? So we can peg it on that. So that is a voluntary resignation. So it should not be tied to the fact that is a silent removal, except he comes out to debunk it, that he was forced to resign. So it's like a voluntary means of resignation within the fact and knowledge we are discussing this particular topic.
Now, Tohwo, just before we speak about the newly appointed acting Inspector General of Police, subject to confirmation by the Senate, what's your assessment of Mr. Kayode Egbetokun's tenure as Inspector General of Police? We do remember the tin permit controversy and a few more controversies. How would you rate his performance as Inspector General of Police? Was he able to push certain reforms in the police? Is the police force now better than he met it? Unfortunately,
I will rate his tenure as a total failure, and I also rate his tenure as his inability to strengthen or spare out the constitutional or institutional functions of the police. There have been a lot of issues where the police comes out, and at the same time, under his leadership, they failed the citizen in every areas you can ever think of in policing. And I'm surprised, though, in terms of where I am currently, and for everywhere, meaning Nigeria, you discover that Egbetokun would have resigned long before now. One, you look at the promotion, there've been lot of scandals in terms of the promotion level within the rank of the police. You look at the professionalism of the police, it becomes more worse than ever. You could see that innocent citizens were tear gassed, and such would have been done within his knowledge or within the briefing, and nobody is questioned. I will also record a lot of adoption from the police, where people were being harassed, adopted from their house in terms of what they call arrest. You also recall that under his tenure, this tinted permit issue, which for me, well, if it's well and properly handled, it would have been a fine thing. Then you also recall that under his tenure, there have been a lot of security breach in Nigeria. The police as normally and as consistently disobey what we call a direct order from a chain of command, whereby you say that you see police coming out openly to say, oh, that is the Inspector General of Police saying, and this is what we are going to do, where they search people's phone and every other thing. So there are so many things that is as a result of, I know as an individual, he wouldn't have been able to do much when there is already a total institutional failure as a whole in the police. So the orientation from the senior officers down to the rank and file that have encounter with the citizen is a total failure. And also in his tenure, you could see so many things we can link to his tenure, and his response is a bit his response and body language to these issues are a bit concerning. And you know, in his tenure, we have what's the name of this former public police and public relation officer, the one that was transferred to Delta State. In his tenure, I think we have the worst police image maker we can ever think of, whereby abuse of power was paramount and clearly spelled out. And you see that he has nothing to do, and he did nothing.
Okay.
So it's a total failure for me as a person.
Okay, I mean,
and I think Nigeria shared the same view as I am.
I mean, these are your thoughts, but there are also different thoughts that we see, different reactions. There's a situation or a case that was brought forth by Sahara reporters. I don't know if you also remember that. While we wait for our next guest to join, who may also have an incline into this story, the report had it that the former IGP was involved, his son rather, had received security grants from Anambra State worth 100 million naira. That was one. There was also stories of people under him who were being raised up. They were, you know, climbing the ranks so fast compared to those who had been in the police service for years. Do you think all of these scandals, in quotes, was enough to have made the president to take this decision? Because we recall Shore has always been at the forefront, highlighting these issues and making it clear. And what do you make of the statements made from the presidency that he had to resign on, always use the family issues and so on? I mean, you're a lawyer and you're also a public speaker, so you do understand these things. Does it make any sense, if we put it that way, that these allegations were being made and all of a sudden we see a resignation come forth?
Well, if you see, one of the areas I think the president should build on, let me come from that point, is the area of his image, that is his image maker. So behind his statement, particularly Bayo, if you hear him or you see him make a statement, you can deduce some innuendo. Also, innuendo can be infer. So behind family ties or family-related issue, fine and good. The resignation was not made public. What he wrote on that resignation letter is not made public, and we should also respect the fact that resignation comes voluntarily and is part of his constitutional right to say, well, I won't be able to take up that responsibility. And on the scandal surrounding him, I will let you know that he's not only the first person and in the Nigerian police. And you can also recall that the former, I think the immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria, has also been accused where the children are the one technically running the Supreme Court technically. I think that was also a scandal. So if you look at it, it has become a tradition. It has become a norm. Even the president's son, Sheyi, like if not for Wole Soyinka who intervened or who came out to speak, you know, he has reduced his numbers of convoy. Sheyi Tinubu, his convoy is even more than the one of some governors you can ever think of. So he weighs some powers that even some governors can't even weigh, because you could hear the pain when Wole Soyinka was speaking about what he saw and the power tussle. So it's a known factor within the power play in Nigeria. So if you say you want to link that as a scandal, it's no longer a scandal. I think they are proud of it. They swim in it. They talk about it. As a matter of fact, the children is part and parcel of the office. You want to talk about yes or wiki? So I want to look at it as a public affairs analyst, because as a public affairs analyst, we put all facts together without emotions, and we want to make people know that what is not acceptable in a society, and if the society condones it, it becomes a normal and a way of life. So I want to look that as one of the scandals. Let's follow simplicity, what the statement states, and the fact that he has not denied. He has not denied. Like I told you, his tenure as an inspector general of police is really, really terrible and a bad one. And let me come to the issue of the promotion. You know, the promotion is not only done by the person of the inspector general of police. Let me make it clear. There are some ranks in the police that the promotion comes from the Police Service Commission. So he is a chairman or he's a member with the Minister of Police Affairs. So it's a collaborative team. It's a team that is done within a larger class. So it should not only be linked to him as a scandal per se.
Okay. Thank you very much for your submission. Stay with us. We have to go for a quick break. And when we return, we still have quite a lot of issues to unpack with regards to the changing of guard at the Camp Salem House. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the retirement of Kayode Egbetokun and the appointment of acting Inspector General of Police, the person of Tunji Disu, and what this means. We're joined by Tohwo Oseruvwoja. Thank you very much for joining us and staying as a part of the conversation. Let's now talk about the new sheriff on the block, the acting IG of Police, Tunji Disu. Now, he's served in previous capacities. He served as Commissioner of Police in Rivers State, in the FCT, and there are many things and victories that were credited to him. So let's talk about what you believe will be the immediate challenges that he will need to tackle immediately as he's stepping into his new role as the acting IG of Police.
If you look at where it's coming from, the response team is a concern to me as a person, because if you look at some of the excesses of the police, particularly when you hear that officers from the force headquarters are leaving Abuja or FCT, visiting states, picking people, and when you find that, you see the response team. So if he's heading that team, I don't want to be a soothsayer, I don't want to be a person of doom. So one of the things I want to say should look at is the overall institution. The overall institution as a police, as the police. You know, the police is one of the oldest institutions we inherit from the colonial master, which is the Great Britain. And if you look at it carefully, over years, even in UK here, the police has undergone some rigorous process of reform. And if that institutional reform is not there, obviously there is nothing it can do. So one of the things we need to do in place is to ensure where we put an holistic overview of the institution. One, responsibilities. Who is to take a responsibility, and when that responsibility is breached, who is to be held accountable? If that is spelled out, then two, they should have a framework. Even the rank and file should understand policing is not about rascality, it's not about gallantry, it's about civic discharge of responsibility. Then the other thing again is there should be an overall education of the police on their roles in the society. And the police should be non-partisan in the sense that the police should not be seen as an instrument of oppression rather than an instrument of law-abiding institution. So if all these things are not put in place, in Nigeria, whoever goes to the police first is the victim. As a matter of fact, as a lawyer, I will tell you that the police are they treat people as clients, and you are the other defendant. Why they are placing?
Last year, the Nigerian police doing customer service week.
Yes,
did put out
so it's as bad as that. It's as bad as that. I've seen where police. I've had an encounter with the police in the UK, and if you see all through the process, that when I was flagged, I was driving and I was flagged. You could see the respect, you could see the interaction, everything went smoothly. So one thing I also make them understand is that their complaint channel or their petition channel, how do they do it? Yeah, you can call the police without you having contact with one of them, but the process will be followed. And justice will be gotten without you saying, oh, this is my IPO, this is this. You meet a team that will look at it professionally. But in Nigeria, it's nothing like it. There's nothing like that. So there needs to be an overhaul. Then the gap between the ranking is really much, is high. If you come to the Metro Police here and you see the chief, between the you see the chief, the Metro Chief Police and the other ranks, you could see that the power around is not that visible. It's not that visible. All like what you see in Nigerian police force, where the IG goes about with about 10 convoys, then you see a commissioner of police goes about with 4 convoys, and there is no operational police van in the division. You see a DPO takes a police customized police van to himself, and there is no operational police van. So all these are institutional breakdown. And when you, I don't know if any one of you have visited the IG office, you'll be shocked how big it is. But you also see within that force headquarters, you see some offices. As it's not even my kitchen, it is not even as big as my kitchen or my restroom in my room. But you see the office of the Inspector General of Police is as big. They said there's one for VIPs, there's one for non-VIPs, there's one for dining, there's one for this, there's one for that. It makes no sense. So there needs to be an holistic overall of the institution, an holistic overall. And I believe with this new IG and the way he is appointed, I believe he's coming here to serve some interest rather than serve the taxpayers.
We hope we can connect with the former FCT Police Command Commissioner, Mr. Lawrence Alobi. It would be nice to hear his insights as a former insider in the Nigerian police, because some of these issues you raised are at the front burner and on the lips of so many Nigerians who encounter men and officers of the Nigerian police on a daily basis. But still on the issues you've raised, you also raised issues of accountability. Nigeria has over time struggled with police accountability, and can Nigerians trust Disu to deliver on police reforms and curb insecurity, or will operation efficiency overshadow human rights concerns? You did mention that what we would need is beyond one man, it's institutionally wide reforms. But if you look at the person of Mr. Tunji Disu, he was the commander of the Rapid Response Squad in Lagos. And if you check, just gauge fillers around social media and everywhere, most people have a positive disposition towards him. They said he was a thorough officer and he did a good job when he was RRS commander in Lagos. So what sort of institutional reforms would you propose, and how much can he do in his time if he's eventually confirmed as IG?
Okay, if it's eventually confirmed, there's what we call the safeguarding mechanism that works perfectly well in the UK. There's what we call the safeguarding mechanism. And one of the safeguarding mechanisms is the fact that you prevent wrong, or you hold people responsible for doing what is not right or putting the life of others in danger. Now, we have 36 states. We have several commissioners of police. Now, the question would be because another thing again is that when merit is jettisoned in terms of posting and appointment, obviously compromise becomes the object of the day. You understand? One of the things he needs to do is how are commissioners of police are posted and how are they allocated? How is promotion being done? These are questions, because you cannot expect that a commissioner or people who comes to give you or who do you favor, that is where you post them or you make them or you recommend them for promotion, and you expect them to do diligent job. So his body language will determine how far he wants the police to go. Me as a person, I believe as the head of an institution.
Okay. All right. Just thanks for joining us, by the way, and thanks for sharing your thoughts.